Hey everybody, Riot Mort here, back with the patch 14.3 rundown. Can you believe it? We are down to our last few patches of Remix Rumble before we move on to the next set. Pretty crazy how time flies. We're getting near the end of the set, and it definitely means probably not time to do crazy reworks or any big adjustments like that. This is also a patch where a lot of regions are going to be doing their regional competitions, so don't expect too much. The meta is in a pretty solid place. I mean, the set's getting kind of figured out, but there's a lot of viable paths. There's some reroll comps. There's some level 4, level 8 comps, stuff like that. So, again, not a ton of changes here, but let's jump into it and see what we got. All right, so first off, on the system side, and I tweeted about this, but if you don't catch my my Twitter stuff, all players now get the same number of items at each stage. What this means is there's no world where you get 3 items and somebody else gets a gold start, or you're down 2 components at any point. Everyone will always have the exact same number of components from their PvE rounds. Now, this is a temporary measure. This is going to lower game-to-game variance. This is mostly because we know we're in the competitive part of a set that we can do this. The game will quote-unquote be a little less fun, if you will. But we have a bigger loot system rework coming in patch 14.5. So until then, this will be a temporary measure to fix that, but should be good to go. And again, we don't want gold starts deciding worlds and stuff like that, so that should help. And then the other thing here is we fixed a bug that allowed headliner trait to appear multiple times before waiting for the 4 shops as intended. You shouldn't really notice this, but if you ever saw like Bruiser, then Bruiser, hopefully that's fixed now. So there you go. All right, on the traits side, 6 Emo got those big buffs a while ago, but really didn't move the needle enough. We're not seeing a lot of 6 Emo. So 6 Emo gets 10 more AP for free. Cool. Executioner. Executioner, the buffs were successful. They crit more, which is neat, but the pace of combat around Executioner builds is just way too fast. Things blow up way more than we're really comfortable with. You see a Vex 3 just delete entire front lines. So Executioner is being lowered at 4 and 6. That maximum critical strike chance, so they'll just hit a little less hard. No big deal. All right, Heartsteel. Heartsteel definitely, at least in NA, don't know about every other region, but in NA it seems to be the flavor of the month. And we're happy with Heartsteel. It's an econ trait. It does what it does. Sometimes you win with it, you get big cash outs. Sometimes you lose with it, and then you have to, grief the other person. I don't know. That's how Heartsteel works. It's risky. But the thing we don't really like about Heartsteel is, like, let's say you play it to perfection, you get your cash out on around like 4-5, 5-1, somewhere in that 8 area, and then you just keep winning. It snowballs on top of each other because you're getting those hearts per kill. And so you end up actually just getting like, here, have a free Thieves Gloves on top of everything, have a free extra component, have a free extra support item. It's a little much. So we're reducing the hearts per kill from 5 and 6 from 2 to 1. That is a 50% nerf. That's a big nerf. And so to compensate, 10 Heartsteel is one of those things that when you get 10 Heartsteel, you're probably just winning repeatedly. And we still want 10 Heartsteel to be really satisfying. So this looks like a massive buff to 10 Heartsteel, but really it's just actually compensating for the kills nerf and actually ends up being slightly less. But that's why that's there. But again, we're happy with Heartsteel. We like that it gets cash outs. We don't like that it keeps getting free loot after it's already winning. So that's what's being nerfed here. So if you still want to go like 7 Heartsteel and get those losses will still be worth a lot, but not as much free loot. And then Punk. We're really happy with Punk. Punk's tricky though, because in lower elos, Punk is definitely very dominating. It's very easy to play. At higher elos though, it's kind of doing what we want it to. And in fact, you don't really see a ton of 4 Punk. It can get like thirds and seconds. But 6 Punk in particular was way too strong. The jump from 4 to 6 from a single spatula was too big. So we're undoing the buff from last patch. It's going back to 420, 42. But again, since you've got the stronger 2 and 4 Punk, should help you get there. Should be fine. All right, on the champion side, Olaf. I love Olaf, but he's just a little too good at 3-star. It's mostly due to the way his scaling works, because he gets a bunch of attack speed the lower flat health he has, and the way 3-star scales with that flat health gets a little out of control. So we're just lowering the heal on auto only at 3-star, a tiny bit here. Should still be fun. We've still seen Olaf builds be successful on PvE. I'm not too worried about it. Senna is a champion that really fell off after the first patch once True Damage Emblem was nerfed. We don't really see a lot of Senna. This is a very tiny buff, though. As you can see, it's just 5, 10, 30, maybe 3-star Senna can open up some builds here, but really light touch here to get Senna to be played. But the fact that people are seeing Senna headliner on 2-1 and going, no thank you, not really a good sign. Lux, pretty similar. We're not really seeing Lux builds be that successful. Again, going to be gentle here. Small buff to Lux, 10, nothing crazy here. Mordekaiser, hilariously enough, is like the secret sauce of the patch. People always ask me what's an underrated comp no one ever talks about. If you look at our data right now, Headliner Mordekaiser 3 is like bonkers good. It's actually insane. But the reason it doesn't matter is because so many people are playing Mordekaiser. No one can ever actually get Headliner Mordekaiser 3. But Mordekaiser is also a key component of like a lot of pentakill comps, stuff like that. So his damage is being lowered 10% here. It is a bit of a nerf to Mordekaiser. Good news is from testing on PB, he still seems like he's okay. But hopefully shouldn't give pentakill quite as much free damage. And then Set, this is part of the Heartsteel nerf as well. Heartsteel, a very good trait, but it turns out when you also get to play Set in the late game, who's already kind of over budget, 950 health for a 3 cost is pretty insane. And he actually hits really hard with his ability. So he's going to lose 50 flat health, should bring him down along to the other 3 costs. And his spell will hit less hard, so you're getting less free damage from a Set. So hopefully this also puts us in a world where Zac is actually better than Set all the time. Right now, that's pretty debatable, especially because he has such good traits like Mosher. But yeah, so that's the second nerf to Heartsteel there. On the 4-cost side, and this is the buff I admit after playing on PB I'm a little nervous about, so we'll see. But Caitlyn is a champion that has kind of fallen off. No one's really excited to build Caitlyn. So we're going to let her shoot her ult after 1 more auto, going to 75. So with Shojin or without Shojin, that's 1 more auto. So she'll just be able to ult a little bit more often. We're not buffing the damage or anything like that. No big deal. Twisted Fate is similar. Twisted Fate was definitely a bit of an over nerf. Disco got nerfed, TF's mana got nerfed, and his damage got nerfed. So we're undoing one of those, which is TF's mana. So he'll be able to cast a little bit more often. Hopefully brings Disco back into playability. And then Karthus. Karthus, this is meant to be a little bit of a nerf, but his rework was pretty successful. But the first cast is still hitting harder than I think we want it to. Sometimes you're still seeing units kind of get deleted from that first cast. So we're lowering the base, but upping the AP per cast. And so the idea here is, again, first cast should be weaker, second cast probably about the same, third cast and beyond should be quite a bit stronger. So light touch here to Karthus to kind of get him in that shape that we wanted from the rework. On the 5-cost side, Jhin. Jin's a weird champion. He definitely probably is the highest peak in the game, right? Like a Mana Zane, Jhin 2, you've probably won the game. But you get a Jhin 1, and God, you'd barely want it over Corki. Jhin 1's really tough to deal with. But part of that is just how fragile he is as well. So we're upping his armor and MR and HP quite a bit. So even just as a warm body, he should be better. But this should hopefully allow him to be a little bit stronger without upping his damage in any substantial way. And then finally, Sona. Really, nobody plays heal form, so heal form's getting a buff. 1% more from that ability, and the shield duration will last a half a second longer. So hopefully that shield can really prevent damage and open that up as an option for Sona. On the headliner bonuses, we're happy with the Vi buffs and stuff like that. Vi's in a really good spot. Headliner's just a tiny bit too strong in the early game, so it's losing 50 HP off the headliner. That's it, nothing too crazy. Kale's another one, looking really good. We're pretty happy with Kale. Headliner, tiny bit too strong, so losing 5% attack speed. Zed, this one's a little complicated, but basically the headliner bonus used to be Shadows gain 10% attack speed and AD. We took that away and just giving Zed 5% flat AD. It's less confusing. The Shadows were it was hard to really appreciate that attack speed. So I think it amounts to a very slight buff, which is, I know, questionable because Zed is already very strong. So anyone going, what? They're buffing Zed? I know. But hopefully this keeps the tool temp and headline trait pretty simple without buffing non-headliner Zed. And then finally, headliner Sona. No one's really excited to play Headliner Sona, trying to get that be a little bit better. So gains 1% more attack speed per auto attack. On the Augment side, Twin Terror. The rework was successful in the sense that now there's a lot of other builds other than just Executioner. It was not successful in the sense that it's still really, really too strong. So lowering the HP and attack speed on each. Hopefully these put these augments closer to balanced. Balanced budget was an augment you might take on 3-2 if you need gold. You were never taking it on 4-2. Now there's a balanced budget plus on 4-2 that gives 9 gold per round for a total of 36 gold. So if you really need gold, it should be a better option. Bigger shot. This augment's bad in a world where big shot's okay. So buffing the augment. Heartthrobs. I'm looking forward to playing this augment. It's pretty bad, but now it just says you gain 25% more hearts. So hopefully that helps. Probably the biggest buff of the patch here. Switching gears. This augment was whenever your streak gets broken, gain 2 gold, is now gain 3 gold. Which means if you can do a perfect win-loss, win-loss, win-loss early game, it's as powerful as something like Escort Quest as a silver. This is going to be a very strong augment if you can pull it off. So keep an eye out for switching gears. Should be good. Endless Hordes. This is a weird one in the sense that we thought we buffed this a while ago, but due to some issue, it didn't go through. So Endless Hordes is HP reductions going back to 15%. So hopefully that helps. And then Starter Kit is an augment, really good in low elo, not so great in high elo, trying to help it be playable. Will now also grant 4 gold. I will say the fact that you get that 4 cost early and that 4 gold should push it up to be pretty powerful. Late game is where it struggled, but having an even stronger early game might make this a really good augment. On the item side, just a couple minor modifications here of lesser built items. Deathfire Grass kind of struggling compared to new Death Cap, so it gets 5 more AP. Goldmancer Staff, we're happy with the gold nerf. That was good. We didn't need people getting 15 gold around. But it's now a little too weak, so it's getting 15 more base AP to make up for that. Hurricane is an item that people haven't really been building. We can't change the shape of champions and things like that. So both it and its Radiant version, the bolts will hit a little harder. So it should be a little more tempting. And Static Shiv is gaining 5 more flat damage, the Radiant 10. So if you want to go those Static Shiv builds, could be an option. On the small side, things we don't expect to change the meta much. Garen is getting a heal per cast buff, a little bit at 2 and 3 star. From what I've tested, it doesn't really move the needle much. You're not going to see like Garen carries run out of control, but helps Garen maybe be a little bit better. And then Jax. This is specifically just his single target slam is being buffed a microscopic amount. Again, trying to let Jax be playable as well. But again, shouldn't move the needle much. It's just a tiny buff to Jax. And then the bug fixes. Fixed a bug where you could find an Akali headliner while having an Akali headliner. Lucian no longer sometimes fires 1 extra shot. Minor thing. Lucian's ability now properly stops scaling at 5.0 attack speed. Apparently it could go slightly beyond to 5.9. Fun fact. Lucian's ability can no longer benefit from attack speed past 5.0 with Nashor's Tooth. Fixed a bug where Reforger and Pandora's items could never grant Spear of Shojin. Okay. Fixed a bug where Pandora's items could grant the Hyper Roll version of Gambler's Blade outside of Hyper Roll and vice versa. Yasuo's ability tooltip now specifies he does physical damage. Amumu's ability tooltip now shows his armor to damage scaling at each star level. Artifact anvils now read open an armory of artifact items instead of open an armory of Ornn items because they're called artifacts now. Kale's ability tooltip now correctly shows her shred at 20%, not 30%. It's not a nerf. There's just the tooltip's now not lying to you. Binary airdrop correctly grants attack casters and attack carries items for the recommended item. This is a bug fix of the change that was supposed to go through last patch. And then the one not listed here that did get fixed is Scrappy Inventions no longer gives us 2 components sooner than intended. Now, normally this is where we end the rundown, but we got 2 other slides to go through really quick. Galaxies is around, and we do have a couple balance changes for the Galaxies revival. Battlecast 9 gets buffed. I still don't think it'll be good, but there you go. Cybernetic also gets buffed. It's a trait that's struggling. More HP, more AD, cool. 8 Darkstar, a little too strong, bit of a nerf. Sorcerer, pretty weak, bit of a buff. Minor stuff here, nothing too crazy. On the champion side, Leona gets buffed. So you're going to see, by the way, Leona and Lucian and Cybernetic buff, so hopefully that helps those builds. Poppy gets buffed. Hopefully Candyland can become a bit more of a thing. More health, more shield. Darius gets buffed. Probably the most interesting change. I know people love playing their Space Pirates Darius. If you've been enjoying Darius, have fun with that. Lucian gets a buff on the AD and AP side. I think Lucian will be very good if you're playing Galaxies. Xin Zhao, stun duration nerf. And then the big three, Ashe, Ezreal, and Master Yi, the kind of the kings of the mode, all getting nerfed quite a bit. So hopefully that makes the mode have even more builds. And then 4-cost Jinx gets a bit of a buff. So there you go. That is patch 14.3. Like I said, a lot of competitions playing on the regional here. A lot of regions playing on whatever. I can't use words apparently. And then we have patch 14.4, which is the Worlds patch, the big championship patch. So that'll also probably be a very small one. And then finally patch 14.5, which will be the last batch of changes because set 11 will be on PBE. So we're getting close. It's pretty wild. So welcome to the new world of 3 sets a year. This is how it's going to work. All right, that's going to do it for me. That's it for the patch rundown. Until next time, take it easy.